Hello, this is Sarah, and this is my flight plan for dyslexia, language, and the brain. So, for the first class, the foundations class, the three goals I decided on were number one, I was interested and still am interested in the difference between English language acquisition from those that do not speak English as their first language. I'm interested in learning about generalized language disorders, so difficulties with processing expressive and receptive language, those two, and dyslexia. I'm interested in differentiating between them, the different strategies, how language development might be different for those that speak English as their second, third, or fourth language. So I'm just kind of interested in differentiating between those. And I work with students, many students who speak English as a second, third, or fourth language, some of which have dyslexia, a dyslexia diagnosis. But I'm wondering how accurate that diagnosis is if they weren't fully assessed in both their mother tongue and in English. So it's just something I'm curious about. Then my second goal is I'd like to know a little bit more about dyslexia in older students. I work with middle school and high school students at the moment. And just some of my students were not even diagnosed until they were in middle and high school. I don't know if I've told you, but I currently live in China, although I'm about to move back to the United States. And disability awareness here is not so much a thing as it is back home and in other parts of the world. So oftentimes, even though this is an international school, oftentimes things like dyslexia tend to get swept under the rug. Students are passed through grades, parents, even if it's that red flag is raised by teachers, counselors, special education teachers, like the parents don't always want to hear that, so they can be reluctant to go and get their children assessed. But so that's why a lot of times these students don't get assessed until later. Okay, so those are two goals. Third goal was to gain a better understanding of brain development in learning language, the neurological aspect. So with those first two goals, I still have those two goals because we touched on some of that very briefly, but not, I think there's a lot more to learn. As for my last goal, I'm very excited that we are learning about that right now because I've always been interested in that type of thing, brain development, and just what goes into learning language and how oral language, a knowledge of oral language, or having that ability translates to learning how to read. So I'm really excited that we're learning about that. Because I don't really have such a scientific background, even just what we've learned so far, I think I mentioned in the discussions that like the level of analysis, it's just new to me. I'm not familiar with that way of organizing information and doing the comparison. And so it took me a little bit longer to kind of wrap my head around it. And so I just know that throughout this course, I'm going to have to kind of take it slowly and make sure I really understand. So you might get lots of questions from me. But so all those goals are still in place. The last goal is slowly being worked on. And then looking forward, I am interested in continuing to learn more about various language structures, how they, as I already mentioned, the interplay, how everything comes together. Just a lot of the nitty-gritty bits of language that I don't know. And as I said, I've worked with students with dyslexia before, and I want to be better prepared to work with those students. And I think in order for that to happen, I need to have a better understanding of what's going on. So yeah, language development, everything that it seems like we're going to go over. Yeah, I think that's it. Let me see. Let me check the assignment and see if I still need to say anything else. Let's see. Yeah, I think I think that's pretty much it. It did say what do you find intimidating? Um, I think what I find intimidating and my third goal are one and the same, the sciencey neurological aspects. But I do find it interesting. It's just going to be a bit more of a challenge. But I'm very excited to be taking these classes, and I think it's an area more teachers need to be aware of because as that statistic is thrown around, maybe up to 25% of people have some form of dyslexia. I'm sure it's a spectrum. So I think more and more, and also within the U.S. and all over, learning English as an additional language is becoming even more important. So I think just having a knowledge of language acquisition is crucial. Yeah, so that's it. I look forward to continuing to take the class, and I've enjoyed everything so far. Thank you so much. Bye.